right, so our guest speaker today will be joining us on Zoom. So Nolan Rheinish is our speaker today. Nolan has served as a teacher for 20 years. He's always felt a calling to inspire and motivate the lives of children. During his career, Nolan received certification in mindfulness and education, helping to create and implement a mindfulness meditation program for the students in his school, and a meditation program for self-care program for teachers in the district. Nolan believes that reforming education and emphasizing meditation and social emotional skills such as compassion, empathy, self-love, and kindness in schools will change the inner world of children, which will ultimately change the outer world that we all live in as a result. Amen. In 2016, Nolan experienced what he calls a spiritual awakening. Since then, he's been an avid student of the metaphysical through quantum physics, spiritual books, various modalities of meditation. He's a current student of the self-realization, practicing the scientific meditation practices of Kriya Yoga. Nolan's deepest calling is to impact and improve the future of our planet by raising the collective consciousness of humanity through heart-based consciousness and spiritual awakening. So please join me in welcoming Nolan to our Zoom podium.
Hello, that was the first time I've ever been Zolan. I've been a lot of things. One time I was in the newspaper as Nolan Rheinish, and that was perhaps the best one, but Zolan's up there too. Thank you, Stanley. Spirit is in this place. I love that song. That definitely is a good hype up. Another thing I really love is that meditation that we do, that world healing meditation. It's beautiful, and I got emotional today during it because I've always loved it, but some of the things in it are so powerful. It says, "I love you, for you are me." And I love in it, he says, "Let the illusion of separation be dissolved. Let the illusion of separation be dispelled, defeated." I've always believed that. I've always truly believed in this oneness and that we are one and that there is an illusion of separation, but it's always remained a belief. It's always been a belief of mine. I've never really experienced it until recently. Recently, I'm on a spiritual journey, just like the rest of you, but I've had some profound realizations in the past, I'll say 6 months, and had some incredible experiences. And rather than explain those experiences to you, because while I'm sure they'd be interesting for your mind to hear, I'd rather give you the opportunity to have a realization for yourself, because nothing is true if it can't be experienced. I have a disclaimer though before I start, that I have no spiritual authority. I am just a man on the path like you are. I am not an awakened being. Like I said, I've just had some very profound realizations that I would like to give you the opportunity to have as well. And so this talk is going to be in and of itself kind of a meditation. We're going to call it a meditative self-inquiry. Okay? And this meditative self-inquiry doesn't need to be like a regular meditation. You don't need to close your eyes. You can keep your eyes open, but like a meditation, what you'll need to do is really focus your awareness inward. Be open to search for the truth of your soul. Be open to search for the truth of who you really are. And in that, you can have a profound experience through this, which I hope you do, or that a seed is planted. And either way, it's going to be a great experience. So, shall we begin? In this meditation, we're going to fall on meditative self-inquiry. And I call this meditative self-inquiry for a very specific reason. First of all, because it's meditative, which means that in order to inquire in an effective way, it's necessary for us to have a certain focus of attention, which means that we really need to be present and in the moment and focused on experience rather than thought. Because in inquiry, we ask the question, who or what am I? Who am I? What am I? And it's very important to realize from the very beginning that this question is not meant to be answered in the mind. It's meant to be answered experientially throughout the totality of our being. So first, we'll just allow ourselves to enter into this state of meditation, a state of relaxation, of ease. And as always, just connect with yourself, your body, what you're experiencing right here and right now, without trying to change it, without trying to alter it. Feel yourself, feel your environment. If there's tension in the body, just let it go, allowing it to relax. And the most important element of meditative self-inquiry is knowing how to ask the question, knowing how to introduce a question into the silent mind, into the core of your being. So when we look and we observe and we ask a question, we're not looking for an instantaneous answer from the mind, but the question itself is actually focusing awareness. It's drawing awareness, attention in a certain direction. It's very important to understand this, unless the mind will start searching within its past and within its past experience for an answer. But inquiry is meant to open up the mind, to provide a gap within the mind through which we can enter a deeper experience. So, in order to find out who and what we truly are, we first look at what we are not. We first look at what we assume we are. And we start with the most obvious and elemental parts of our experience. So the first one is thought. Most human beings find their identities in thought. Most people think that they are who they think they are. Whether they think they're good or bad, or worthy or unworthy, deserving or undeserving, these are all thoughts in the mind. And so for most human beings, their identity, their sense of self is actually being generated by the mind. This sense of self, which is generated by the mind, is what I call the false self, the personal self, the illusory self. It's a sense of self that's simply generated through the movement of thought and conditioning. So when we start to look at mind, which is nothing but thought, we start to notice that there is thought. Thought moves in the mind. And the assumption is that you are your thoughts, that somehow your thoughts tell you about yourself. But when we start to explore it, you start to notice that there is thought and there is also awareness of thought. You notice in your own experience that awareness itself lies before thought. Awareness is there before any thought arises. Awareness is there to notice thoughts as they arise. Awareness is there when thoughts pass. So you can see in your own experience that although there is thought, and there is also the witness of thought, and the witness of thought always stands prior to thought. And therefore, you cannot be your thoughts. Thoughts happen and occur within you. Thoughts are not who you are. Thoughts do not tell you who you are. So we can't turn to thoughts to find out who we are. And if we really look, we see that thoughts are what creates the illusion of a me. The concept of a me is just that, a concept. And it can't be found outside of a thought. So next we look at feelings and the various sensations in the body. To have a human body is to have feelings and sensations. So there are obvious feelings and obvious sensations running through your body right now. So tap into those. As I speak, your attention may be drawn to different feelings or different associations, different places in your body. And generally, we are taught through our conditioning to identify with our feelings. So if anger arises, we say to ourselves, I am angry, as if I and anger were synonymous, were the same thing. If we are happy, we say, I am happy. If we are hot or cold, we say, I am hot or I am cold. And so we associate ourselves with these feelings. But just like thoughts, although we can feel various things, many things, that there is something which is prior to feeling, closer to feeling. There is awareness of feeling. And although feelings occur, there is an awareness that's prior to them. Feelings come, feelings go, but the awareness of them remains. And so you see feelings present themselves. But we are not our feelings. Feelings just happen within us. We also find that minds, human minds, have beliefs, a whole array of beliefs, beliefs about who we are, beliefs about others, beliefs about the world, beliefs about what's right and wrong, good and bad beliefs about how things could be or how they should be, beliefs of an almost infinite variety. These beliefs float through our mind as conditioned patterns, and we have been taught to associate ourselves with the various beliefs in the mind to the point where we actually start to identify with the beliefs. We will say, I am a Buddhist. I am a Democrat. I am a Republican. I am spiritual. I think this. I think that. I believe this. I believe that. And therefore, we start to derive our personal identities through what we believe and what we disbelieve. And yet, through investigation and a willingness to look again, to look closer, to look more deeply at this moment, we can see that beliefs also are things that appear within awareness. That a belief is just a thing. It's a thought. That a belief is not who you are. That a belief does not define you or the world or others. And so while the mind derives its identity through belief, in truth, belief is simply a pattern of conditioning that flows through the mind. And there is an awareness that's prior to belief. There is that noticing of belief. And the noticing of belief is more intimate. It's closer than the belief itself. And so we start to realize in our own experience that we are not what we believe. Beliefs do not define who we are. Beliefs are something that's witnessed by consciousness. And then we look at the entirety of our ego personalities. Every being, enlightened and unenlightened, has a personality, has a unique way in which spirit manifests as a human being. A personality is nothing more than a mask we wear. And sadly, most human beings are completely identified with a mask of their personality structure. They think they are their personalities. And this leads to a sense of separation, a sense of isolation eventually. But when we start to see the personality is a thing that belongs to the body and the mind, The personality itself is something that's being witnessed from within. One can be aware of their personality. We can actually say, I am aware of my personality. And so this means that personality is something. It is an object that we are aware of. And as an object, we or you stand prior to the personality. The awareness of personality stands prior to personality. And so while there is personality, while there is ego, through investigation, you can begin to see and experience that you are not your personality. You are not the ego. What's peering through the personality? In the ancient tradition of Greek theater, this is where the concept of persona came from. A persona was something that the actor would wear. It was a mask they would put on the front of their face. They would assume a persona, and they would play the part in the play, acting out the persona with ups and downs, history and trials and tribulations. And so today we have this thing called a personality, a persona. And we've forgotten that the original meaning of persona was something that we wear, something that we peer through. And we have forgotten all about our deeper spiritual nature and identity. We have been taught that our personality, our persona, defines who we are. But this is as silly as putting on a mask at Halloween and then thinking you are the mask. And so, although there is a personality, an ego, or a persona, awareness stands prior to it. Awareness wears the personality. And so we start to see that we are not our personalities, although they exist, and we are exploring what we are through exploring what we are not, through looking at our assumptions, through looking at everything we have identified ourselves to be, and seeing that in each and everything that we identify ourselves as, that there's actually something that stands prior to it, something that stands before it. There is always awareness of thought, awareness of feeling, awareness of person, awareness of body, mind. There is always awareness of thought. All these things are objects of perception, objects which awareness perceives. None of them tell us about the perceiver. And so as we look deeper in a silent meditative way, we ask ourselves, what am I really? What am I really at the core of my being? And we come upon, when we look within, behind all objects of perception, what we find is awareness or consciousness. And there we find the first assumption, the first illusion that awareness is something that I possess. In fact, we say it in our daily language all the time. I am aware, or I am conscious. And we assume that it's true. We assume that awareness is something we possess. We assume that there's an entity, a separate entity called me, who possesses awareness or consciousness. And so we bring meditative self-inquiry to this fundamental illusion. This fundamental assumption is that there is a separate self that possesses awareness, possesses consciousness. There's a separate someone, a separate entity. and you look inside for yourself, can you find who possesses this awareness? Can you find who possesses consciousness, the entity, the me? Now, without an inner dialogue of thought chatter, without a mental image that the mind creates, without a thought, can you find a separate self within your perception? Without a thought, can you experience this separate self in your direct experience? Or is there just what is experienced? Is there just what is seen in what you see? Is there just what is heard in what you hear? Without a thought, where is the me that is doing it? So, we are not interested in assumptions. We're interested in experience. We're interested in only what can I find right now in my experience. And so we look inside and look for this me, the one who possesses awareness, the one who is doing the seeing and the hearing. And we can be amazed and bewildered when we don't find it. When this supposedly separate self of me that possesses awareness is not there, that there is no separate entity. What's there is awareness itself, consciousness. And there is no one who is aware. Awareness itself is aware. Awareness is aware of the voice in your head, your thoughts, and whatever explanations or rationalizations it's trying to give you. Awareness is aware of the images the mind might be creating. So ask yourself, how do you know? If any thoughts pop up and therefore you're thinking, how do you know? How do you know you're thinking? If any images come into your mind, how do you know? Because you are awareness, and awareness is aware. This is a great discovery that awareness itself is aware. Consciousness itself is conscious. No separate entity, no me behind it. And as we begin to see this, we are contacting the core of who and what we are. And as bewildering as this may seem to the mind, it's unavoidable in direct experience. And as we let go of this belief in a separate identity and realize ourself to be the underlying awareness, it's always been there, always been watching, always been waiting for you and I to come back home, to come back to what we really are, to rest within the seat of our deepest nature, to realize ourself, to be awareness itself. And we can explore this awareness. We can look in our experience right now and here. Does this awareness have an age? Does this awareness have a gender? Is it a male awareness or a female awareness? Or is it simply awareness itself? Does this awareness have a limitation? Can you find the beginning of it or the end of it? Remember, these are not questions meant to be answered in the mind. I'm simply directing your attention back to its source. We are simply investigating, each of us for ourselves, what is our true nature. We have been taught and we have been told that this realization is difficult, that to wake up from the separate me identity is hard and it takes years and it's only for spiritual masters. But all it really takes is a willingness to look into the depths of your own experience immediately, right away, right here, right now, and realize that it's here now already. You already are it. What you are is a silent watching, is awareness itself. And this is what in spirituality has been called spirit, something without form, without shape, without gender, without age. Spirit is awareness. Awareness is spirit. It's always been. So it has always been who we are, this spirit. Awareness has been wearing the mask called you and me. And like most human beings, we have lost ourselves and identified ourselves as the mask, as the persona. But as the meditation said, let this illusion be dispelled. We have played the part of the character to such an extent that we have identified ourselves as the character, as the persona, as the separate being. But this inquiry is an opportunity to wake up from this trance, to realize what you've really known in your heart of your hearts, that this personality, these bodies, these minds are just a mask through which spirit and awareness functions. Through this investigation, wordlessly, silently feeling into the truth of what you are, the flash of recognition can dawn on you, can dawn within you, and you can realize that this awareness, this spirit, is what you are now and what you've always been. You don't earn it. You don't gain it. You don't maintain it. It is what you are. It is what your neighbor is, what your friend is, what your enemy is, what your lover is. It is the core and heart of all beings. And so therefore it is not personal. It doesn't belong to anyone. This is the one spirit, the one awareness that functions through all form, that takes all forms, that appears as all form, while always remaining in the heart and the deepest center, formless. And so this is an invitation I give to you to rest in the mystery of what you are, to give recognition to this mysteriousness, being, awareness, spirit itself, to return to direct experience and not stay lost within the trance of your mind. This recognition is our inheritance. It's what we're born to realize within ourselves and realize within all things and all beings. It's available to everyone, everywhere. All we need to do is be willing to look for ourselves, to inquire, to be guided and directed by our direct experience, and to awaken from the mind. There's a natural state of rest, a natural sense of freedom, a natural sense of ease. And we can be consciously what we've always really been. I leave you with that. I love you all. Thank you.